It's red. We're live.
Amen.
Becky's not happy because she doesn't want to do
Live.
Facebook Live on this episode because she said it might be stupid. Well, we would still upload it if it was stupid.
I know, but I could hide, I guess.
Hide?
This is not really me. It's a picture of me, a video of me.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense to me.
It did. So.
It does.
Well, we're doing Growing Up Chestnut.
Amen.
This is episode 2, Ghost Stories. Okay, so we have some spirits stories
from the Chestnut Clan.
Yeah,
Dad.
from things
that Dad told me and they're not real long. They're just little episodes. But
I want to know what the story was because you said Mom verified it. So what was it?
Well, there was one that Mom, it was after Mom and Dad got married, and I thought they named it, but I don't know which uncles were there because there's such a gap between some of them. But
it don't matter.
I know, and I think some of them may have been in the service or whatever. But there was a ghost, and they could hear it. It would move, it would talk, and they were like, at first they were, what's going on? Things were moved, but mainly at night, And so, but Mom went over there one time, and Dad had told her, and she didn't believe him. And so she went over there one day and she was like, what is that, And she kept thinking, no, because she said she babysat them. But I think they were older by then because they were younger. But anyway, but she said that there was a ghost, and she said it would, or a haint. They called them haints.
Grandma called it haint.
My grandmother called them haints. But anyway, so Mom said that she was ready to go. She was not going to sit there. And but I think she was alone at the house with some of the kids.
Now, whose house was this?
Grandma and Grandpa's.
I can't believe that they would have stayed in a house like that.
The best one is that Dad tells is, and it was when I think I don't remember how old Dad was, but I know he said Stella was like 3, and then Earl, and Tommy may have been a baby, but I know that they were all little. But Dad was always on Grandpa's heels. Yeah. And where Grandpa went, Dad was, there.
Right.
And he said they kept hearing noise. They moved in this house, and they kept hearing noises, And Grandma goes, Lee, you better go check that out. You better go check. They never could find anything. And so Grandpa kept telling Grandma it's haunted. The house is haunted out. And so you know how Grandma, she gets really upset. So anyway, the fun thing was Aunt Natty and Uncle Jake came over one day.
If you have not met Nettie and Jake, they were a hoot.
Yeah, they were a hoot. All of Grandpa's family were a hoot. But anyway, the Grandma. But so Nettie and Jake came in. Grandpa and Grandma somehow started telling about the story. They heard something, I think, and it brought the story. And then so while they were telling the story, somebody knocked at the door. And Nettie was by the door. So she opens it, and there's nobody there. And Dad says there's railing. You can't even jump. And there was ice on the snow, and there was ice on the steps, and you couldn't go down the steps. That's so funny. And because I know them, and so I can just see it in my mind. And Jacob's like, there ain't no such thing as a ghost or haints or whatever they want to call them. But Dad said that when they were home alone a couple times, there were marbles on the floor. They would hear it. And there would be these marbles, and they would be rolling.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, so that quit. So that night, we have a dog down here. So that night, while Jake and them were there, a couple times, like they would hear something, and a couple times they heard, like the door. I think a door did something again, and they went out on the porch and they couldn't say anything. So Dad said Jake and Grandpa were over by the stove and talking and stuff. About that time, those marbles came and hit the floor. And they looked at each other, and Dad said that they ran to the door at the same time. The women didn't. The children didn't, but the men went couldn't get through the door. And Dad said it was like, he said it just remembers that it was funnier than anything. But he said they didn't, needless to say, they didn't live in that house very long.
Oh, yeah.
But Dad said they'd hear things all the time, and Grandpa and him would get up, you know, and couldn't. There was no way like they could get into the door. The door creaked too. Well, you know, it's back in the coal mining days and stuff. So, um,
Well, you know, some of the ghost stories I remember were, so people don't get like at the church.
oh
So
yes,
Dad would do the radio broadcast
I remember
on
those.
like what, one night during the week, and we usually Friday night I think it was, or something like that. But anyways, Dad would do it, and I used to hate it because Dad would make one of us kids
Yeah,
go with him over there, because at the church there have been times we would be at the church and you could hear kids laughing, running up and down the stairs, and you would go out and
door
there's
shutting.
nobody's here there. It's locked up. You could hear the bathroom doors creak open.
Well, you know, me and Mom
then
went over there one
slam.
day, and Mom could play the piano. She just never would play for anybody. She could play the piano. So me and her, she wanted to go over and practice. And me and her went over to the church one day, and I was over there playing the organ. We were playing together, and we did it a couple times. And we were the only ones in there. And then all of a sudden we heard you know, those old-fashioned electric typewriters, those IBMs.
Right.
It was somebody typing. I'm like, who's here? Mom and I goes, who's here? I go, I don't know. So we both get up, go in there, down in the secretary's office. Not a soul. I looked in, Mom goes down, you know, Mom's going, got her hand on her hips looking for whoever that is. It's not funny.
Well,
so we went back up there, started playing again. Mom tells me to keep playing, so I'm playing the organ. She goes down there, there's nobody there, and I could still hear it typing. By the time she gets there, it stopped. I could see where Mom, you know how you could see in the door.
mm-hmm.
So she told me, when I tell you to, turn that and run. So I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I was ready to run. And I was ready to go out that back door, you know, down that.
Right.
That's scary too, going down
Oh no.
But
that was the scariest part of the church, I think.
Me and her, and that's the first time I ever seen Mom really scared, because Mom's like, but we ran. We got out of that church and locking that door. We're both going like, you know, and I was probably 16 years old when that happened.
Well, I heard Dad was doing his radio broadcast one time, and it was during the wintertime, so it snowed. There was snow outside and all this stuff. And when Dad would do that, I was usually in the secretary's office up there, and all of a sudden Dad's just like, Mike. And I'm like, what? And he goes, what are you doing out there? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm waiting for you to get done so we can go. He's like, I got to restart this radio broadcast. It's too much noise. And then all of a sudden, that was when we heard the kids laughing and giggling and running like downstairs underneath us. And I'll never forget, me and Dad, Dad said, come on, let's go check this out. And we went downstairs, and the lights were off downstairs. Okay, so this is at night. And he was like, hang on. And he went and opened up the door. And the only footprints in the snow were the ones of me and him getting there.
No.
And Dad said, let's go. We left all the lights on, everything. He locked that door, and we were out of there. But it was scary.
It was always scary because Dad didn't. The funny thing is, Dad didn't like to go over there by himself either. And like, he would always send you boys over. And I'm so glad I was a girl. He'd always send them boys over.
I hated it.
I know, Greg did too. Oh, I know.
Because it was scary. So I remember one time, so Carol Smith was Dad's secretary.
Yes.
And so I always terrorized Dad's secretaries, except for Bonnie. Bonnie scared me because Bonnie could catch me, you know? So I didn't want to mess with Bonnie too much because she could get to me faster. But Carol Smith, she went on lunch break. So while she was at lunch, she hated being at the church by herself.
Yeah.
And that was especially before the new edition was made. And so Carol went to lunch, and I saw she had just pulled back in. So I was a little kid. I crawled up underneath her desk.
And her desk was wide. It was a long.
Yeah, it was a big old desk, wooden desk.
Huge.
And so I pushed the drawer out on the desk. Carol comes up. Of course, she don't see me under desk. I'm skinny little, like 7 years old or something. She sits down and she pushes the desk drawer in. And so I wait a few seconds, and then I just slide the desk drawer back out just a little bit. And I hear Carol go, huh, like that. And she put it back in. As soon as she put it back in, I shoved it as fast and as hard as I could out. She went running out of there screaming. I came out laughing, going, ha! And she's like, I'm gonna kill you. And I took off running because if that woman could have got a hold of me that day,
no, she was mad at you more than just that day. She was like forever mad at you.
Well, she was so much fun to get because
she was easy.
She was easy to scare.
She was easy. I was easy. You know?
Yeah. So, but I remember, so grandmother came over to our house one time, and this is what I remember, ghost story. So grandma and grandpa never visited our house very much. We always went to theirs. And I remember, was it when mom was sick,
Mom
right?
had cancer, and grandma came up, and mom actually got out of grandma came up, right before mom came out of the hospital. But the night you're talking about, mom was home. I think it actually was the first night mom was home.
Yeah, because grandma came, I think, to help. So grandma slept in the guest room downstairs, the missionary room. Right. And what's funny is I didn't even know any of this happened, but they said grandma started screaming. Yeah. Dad and mom could hear grandma downstairs going, Lee!
So dad runs.
Yeah.
Meets her at the stairs, and she says, "There's a man in my
there's
bed."
a hate.
No, there's a man in my bed.
Oh, there's a man in my bed.
She said there was a man in her bed, and Dad goes, "A man in your bed?" He goes, "You wish." And then they go on, and then he says, "Yeah," and because I was scared too. I mean, I was like, "What in the world's going on?" And she said, "Dad goes, there's something." She goes, "There's a man. I could feel his hands and his hot breath."
And so she runs up into my room and locks the door. I woke up to mom and dad knocking on the door like, Dad going, Mom, come out. And she's like, no.
There's a haint.
And I was like, she was saying there was a haint. Luckily for me,
there was a haint.
I didn't know. I didn't care. I was tired. I just rolled over and went back to sleep. And I was like, I guess grandma's sleeping with me tonight.
Well, Dad went down there and he was looking around. Of course, Dad's cracking up. He's down there, but I'm like, what did she see? There's this man downstairs. And she's telling us, it's a haint. It's a haint. The rest of the time, she would not go downstairs.
Yep.
She said somebody died in that bed. A man died in that bed.
Yeah, she came up with she had a story.
Yes. And I said, Dad goes, and she goes, somebody died in this house. He goes, Mom, this house was built brand new. We're the only ones that lived there. And ain't been nobody died.
Maybe you're on Indian burial ground or something.
Could be. No, we're not there. I don't know. It was Oswego. I mean, could be.
Yep.
I don't know. Who knows?
Well, one of the things that we were always good about was like pranks. And I remember it was right after you got married. Dad
that was terrible.
Put they had just come out with the timers on the wall sockets. And Becky and Chris went on their honeymoon and came back, and they were coming back and were in the guest room. And Dad slid a tape recorder underneath the bed with play pushed, but on a timer. So when that timer would hit a certain time, and I think it was like midnight, something.
Yeah, but I saw it. I saw it, but I didn't. And I was going to check it out because I knew Dad, and I saw it.
Right.
But we were bringing in luggage, and I don't remember, Mom. We went upstairs talking till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And you guys sat on the stairway. We went on to bed, went to the stairway, and I forgot about it. Mom has those shades and the night shades. You can't see in there. It was dark in that room. You remember how dark that room was? And it went off. Dad goes, whoa.
Yes, the tape recorder goes off, and it starts off, and Dad goes, what you doing in there? Yeah. Like that, and yelling.
It was horrible.
And
I started laughing. Yeah.
Yes. Chris jumps up scared.
And I go, it's the tape recorder. Say, what tape recorder? What tape recorder? And he's trying to get up the blinds.
But then the funny thing is, once Dad stops
that's
doing
the best part.
Tape
runs out.
The tape runs out where Dad stopped recording. Is Greg singing?
God leads his dear children along.
God leads his dear children along.
Psalm through.
So Chris is looking for this voice, and then you hear your brother-in-law singing to you from underneath the bed.
I knew. And he's like, what are you talking about? So I crawled under there, And because the bed, that was one of those beds that were real high. I got one of those now, but and it had the timer on. I'm like, oh my gosh! But you guys got tired and went on to bed
Yeah, because
and thought it didn't happen.
Well, because Dad we set the timer wrong. And so we set it to the wrong time, and that's what happened. But what's funny, so it was like a year later, Butch Taylor, Lyman Taylor,
Oh, yeah.
they were in evangelism at the time. So they came and they had a camper.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Greg thought it would be funny
to do that
to them. So
in their camper.
In their camper. So one of us
not right. I haven't heard this one.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
So one of us distracted them. I think it was at dinner time. And so we knew they would leave it unlocked. So the other one went in there, put the timer in and put it in under their bed. And so we're like, we set it to go off like 2:00 in the morning or something like that, you know.
We never did it for lamps. It was for
I don't even know. I think that's the only reason we got it. So anyways, we're waiting the next day to hear Lyman Taylor and them say, what was that? You know, da 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 da. Never said a word. Never said a word. And we're like, we were really disappointed because we had worked hard on that. We were like, it didn't work, you know? And so but we couldn't get in there to check as it's their...
And to take it, yeah.
Yeah, you know? So we're in revival with them. So that night in revival, Lyman Taylor goes, by the way, I did not know that the Chestnut Boys were this talented. And we're like, oh no.
In front of church.
Because Mom and Dad didn't know.
Oh, no.
Nobody knew that we had done this. And all of a sudden you hear, he goes, let's play that. And all of a sudden you hear go, me and Greg going, hey, what you all doing in there? Chop, chop, chop. We're going to stab you. And all the stupid stuff being stupid. And it's playing. And we're like, and I remember Dad's got to be laughing. Mom's like wants to kill us boys. And Dad's over there on the front row. Whenever Dad got laughing, he'd be, and he'd be like,
that's like his that. Boy. That's his boys.
So that's what Lyman Taylor got the last.
That's hilarious. I never heard that. I never heard that. But no, yeah, he got the last laugh.
Oh yeah,
that's even better.
he did. But that's why I always.
And know they were dying to say something to y'all.
Oh, but he had us.
Oh yeah.
And you know what was
that's best.
So what happened was apparently we didn't hide it very well. You know, which
well, you didn't with me either.
Yeah. So Greg was the one that I think that snuck in and did it, you know.
Yeah, blame Greg. He's not here.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. Greg can't dispute it, you know. Well, I would have been too chicken to sneak in there, you know. And
that is hilarious.
Yeah, so that was one of the fun pranks that we had pulled, but they always seem to backfire on us. But talking about the ghost stories though, I hated, because of our experience at Mom and Dad's, I always hated, you were in evangelism, and I think it happened to you a couple times. But when I went to Tennessee Temple, we would have to, we traveled one year with the music group, and they had a singing group, and then I was the speaker. I don't know what they were thinking, but anyways, so I was the speaker for that.
Bless their hearts.
And so they put all the kids that were from the college that were singing, they went into these homes and stayed, and they had a guest apartment for us, and it was inside the church. We've done that, yeah. It was just like Valley's, and it was in the back of the church, right behind the pulpit area, and
behind the pulpit area.
Well, like where there's the baptismal, so it was connected right behind that, and all night we heard bangings and noise and stuff like that. And I was so scared, and I'm an adult because I remember when we were kids. And the thing is, we know that's not demons, ghosts,
yes,
they're not
ghosts. Yeah.
And Dad had a dream. I'll never forget this. Dad had a dream one time. There was a Methodist church down the road. Dad had a dream? Yeah. Okay. Dad told this dream. You don't remember this?
I don't know. Start telling me, and I might tell
you. So he had a dream one night, and he was driving to church, and he left the church, and there was nothing but demons swarming around our church and out and all this stuff, having a party. And Dad said he drove down to there was this little old Methodist church down the
I know what you're
street.
talking about.
And Dad said he got up to there, and there was just one little demon sitting on the doorstep. And Dad's like,
I do remember this.
Dad's like, why is there only one of you here,
I
but
do
there's
remember
a
this.
bunch over at our church? And he said the demon told him, we already won this place over. We're working on yours.
That's right. I remember that.
And after Dad told that story, I never wanted to go back into that building again. And I remember Dad was like grandmother when he told that story, because it was like so real to
Well,
him.
you remember the UPS man? The one that we had forever? You don't remember him?
How old was I?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, you were a teenager probably by then. But that's when I was the secretary for a while.
Mhm.
And so you're nervous, so Dad and they went to lunch, and I'm there by myself.
Right.
And so remember, I made you might have been at college then, and we had this big old machine that we made the bulletins on. We made it had a template, but it was you did one,
Right.
and then you would run it off on the
Yes.
on the printer. And so that thing was going, but it was real loud, and I had my back, and I turned, and the UPS man was standing right there, and I screamed bloody murder. And he was going like this, and he got mad at me. He goes, "Wow, I was talking to you. I was telling you I was here." I said, "Well, I obviously didn't hear." He goes, "That makes me so mad." And he told Dad the next day, he goes, "Your daughter made me so mad." He said, She scared me to death." He goes, "This place is creepy." He said, "When nobody's here." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I scared him." He was mad.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Oh man." Yeah.
But
To be fair, what?
you scream.
I do scream. I get it doesn't take
Even when
much.
you know we're right behind you.
Yes.
Well, she's not the only one that
I'll
does
shut
that.
the door,
I
and then
I mean, I'm like, Mom, and she's
I know I'm in the refrigerator, and I remember one time Wesley came up to me. I was in the refrigerator getting something, and I turned, and he was just standing there, because he said "Mom," but I didn't hear him. He was just standing there, and I screamed, and he was like, "It's like," but they're all used to me. Yeah, I scream.
I remember one
I'm
time
easy.
when we were kids, I was in the bathroom. I just turned off the light, and I heard you come open your door. And so we had the biggest closet in the bathroom. Remember that? And so I got in the closet real quick and waited until Becky got in there. And then I jumped out at you. Shh. This is the first time I ever scared you. Beat the crud out of me. You were screaming and hit me. Dad come running out. I'm like, I scared her. And Dad was like laughing.
That reminds me of Wes, because we were living in we were staying at Mom and Dad's, and Wesley blackened his face and put on all black clothes. And I was in the room, and I was doing something, and the door was creaked over, and I went to the dresser, doing everything, and he was right there, and I didn't see him. And finally I saw him, and he came so close to me punching him, and he was like, he's going, "Mom, it's me, So I said, "Jamie's on her way home." And you remember that it used to be that little kitchenette, but they changed it into a sitting room.
Yeah.
So it had its own light. So I had just the lamp light on over by the bed, so it was real soft lights.
Right.
And so in that other room, although that light was off, although you could see the little bit of light, it's pure dark. So I had Wesley sit there, all black and this, and so Jamie came in, and she's telling me blah, 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 and she's telling me my day and blah, blah, blah. And I said, and I'm going, "Oh, that's right." And I'm just looking, I'm on the bed folding clothes. Going, "Oh, this is good." I said, "Hey, would you go there and get me my purse? I need to get something out of it." She goes, so she's talking to me, and she walks over, and she's talking, and Wesley hands her the purse, and she's like, and she realized, that was my favorite. Next to the cat poo-poo. That was my favorite.
I was thinking about that. I went and lived with Becky and Chris for a while in Georgia, and I had a cat named Gadget.
Yes.
Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget.
Gadget was such a cool cat.
Yeah.
He was so cool. But he would have hairballs. And
I've never seen a cat like that.
I had
as
left,
bad as he was.
but you guys still had Gadget.
Yeah.
I was good at that. I would leave somewhere and leave my cat.
Yeah.
And you tell the story what happened.
So Brooke and I went to I think it was just Dollar General or something. And because I always like to get like after Thanksgiving or Halloween, like get all the
Specials.
yeah. So me and her went, and there was this thing, and it was. She goes, "Look at this, Mom. It was cat poop." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And then she goes, "It feels real." And me and her, I'm like, "Oh, it does feel real, you know." Like, and then I went, "Michael's coming back, and I'm going to use it on him." Well, you came and went, and I forgot about that because it was in the closet. Totally forgot about it. So I was in my closet one day, and I was cleaning stuff out, and I found it. I'm like, man, I didn't do that. That really bugs me. But Jamie was in the other room, and Jamie is our gullible child. Jamie, you can do something to her once and do it to her twice and even 3 times, and she doesn't catch on. So she's fun to mess with. So anyway, she was 15 or 16, and I was in the closet, and I found it. I'm like, I gotta, I can't let this thing go. I gotta use it,
I love
And so anyway, so I yelled, Jamie, come here and help me. And she goes, yeah. So she comes in there, and I go, I can't get this stuff out of the closet. I need you to help me pull this stuff out. Well, she looks over on the bed. I laid it on the end of the bed. And she goes, oh, mom, the cat. And I looked over it, and I'm like, I'm going to kill that cat. I said, you better get something, bring that here, and I'm going to clean this up. And I was just going off about the cat. If Michael don't come back and get this cat, I'm going to tell you what. And Jimmy's like, and so she comes back, and she picks it up. She's going to clean it up, and she picks it up. And she says she's thinking in her mind, how long has this been there? Because it was kind of, yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, she goes, and she's trying to go, what? She goes, it's stiff, Mom. It's like, it's, and I go, what? She goes, yeah. And I go, let me see it. And she's just looking at me, and she kind of pulls it up, and I went, and then I take it from her, and I go, and she starts going, what are you doing? She said, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going to really have to clean up something in here in a minute and vomit it if I don't. And I'm going, it's fake. But
that's funny. You know, that story reminds me of, and I probably should not tell the story, but I'm going to.
oh no, don't tell it.
Because you guys told us that before. See, I didn't know Mom and Dad before they got saved. You guys did.
Well, before they were saved, but they were living for God.
Weren't living for God. And you guys said Mom and Dad. See, I had never heard our parents cuss. I'd never heard them say a bad word. And you said Mom's favorite word before they came to Christ
yes.
was the SHI1 word.
Yes.
And I'm like, and I remember when you and Greg told me that one time, I was like, not my mom.
No, not your mom.
No, because I'd never heard it. But
Don't
I had
tell
gone.
The story.
What? Our parents were human.
I know they were flawed. They were flawed. That's what
They were, and it's funny because
they were.
I was young, and I got this from Spencer's. This
I remember. I know what you're gonna tell.
crap, and our mom was a neat freak. I mean, she was a neat freak. You get out of bed to use the bathroom during the night, you come back and your bed would be made. I mean, that was about how bad it was. And I remember I'm little, and I'm like, this is going to be funny. I'm going to put it on Mom's pillow. So
yeah, by little, what do you mean? How old were you?
So I'm probably about 9. I'm probably about 9 years old. And so I go and I get this and I put it on her pillow, on Mom's pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And I go into our living room. I'm sitting there like, like this is going to be funny, like this. And Mom goes walking in her room, and I'm just like excited, like
so stupid.
This is so funny. And all of a sudden, I heard Mom go, Mike, you come get this cat off my bed. And I'm like, whoa, that's not funny. I'm like, what did Mom say? And so I run in there.
And you're going, fake it's fake.
And no, I don't say it's fake yet, because I'm shocked that I just heard my mom say,
I haven't heard her since any of that.
And so I go in there, I go, it's okay, Mom, it's okay. And I grab it with my hand, and she goes, don't grab that ball with your hands. And I went, it's fake, Mom, it's a joke. She goes, what? You think that is funny? If she didn't say that word once, she said it 100 times, going off on me about that cat that I had that was not funny. And I was like, oh, she lost it. I remember I walked over to the church because church is next
I remember
door.
this.
And I walk in, I sit down in front of Dad's desk, and Dad's like,
He could tell you.
son, what's the matter?
Could always tell.
And I said, I think I'm in trouble, Dad. And Dad goes,
No, you're in trouble.
why? What did you do? And I said, and I took that plastic cat crap out and put it on his desk. I said, I put that on Mom's pillow for a joke. And she said a bad word. And Dad starts laughing. And he goes,
Yeah, I know.
son, you'll be okay. Just stay over here with me the rest of the day.
I know.
But Mom felt so bad. I could have got a pony that day.
I know.
When I went back home, Mom felt horrible, But I
she
definitely
should've.
found Mom's Achilles heel,
Yes.
whatever it's called, button. I pushed.
Yeah.
But we'll go with that. But because she was
Achilles heel.
such a neat freak. But anyways,
Yeah, you don't mess with Mom's house with anything on Mom's house.
well, yeah. Well, I think we probably got ourselves in enough trouble tonight.
Oh yeah, that was
with
really
story.
good one to end it on.
Mom's probably in heaven right now, ready to.
And Mom doesn't care about us right now. She's cleaning it up there.
Yeah,
Rearranging.
Robbie, and Rebo
They're
up
rearranging
there.
the place.
They're still rearranging
Lord,
the
the
place.
throne doesn't look good here. Let's just move it over
No,
here.
why you guys got the golden book over there? That don't make sense.
Yes.
The book of life needs to be over
Yeah, I
here.
can see
Peter, are you really wearing that for people coming? Yeah. Anyways, well, thank you all for watching us today. I know what I want our next story to be about, but Becky doesn't want it to be about that.
Nope.
IBS.
It's not happening.
Yes,
Not
we
happening.
have such great
No.
bathroom stories.
But we're not going there, Mike.
So we need you guys to, in the comments, let us know
No.
if that's just what
I
you
don't care
want
what
it to
you
be.
comment about. It's not happening.
Yes,
It's not
yes,
happening.
because we can talk about Paducah and
No.
all that stuff. So, anyways,
No.
so we'll see you all later.
Not
Jamie,
happening.
you can get us goodbye before I get in more trouble.
Yeah.